Thank you for joining us for this week's Missing series. I'm Marnie Hughes in Chicago. We have some new developments in the case that we're going to bring you this morning. This is a story that we told you about from North Carolina. It has been 6 months since a little girl who's 11 years old got off of her school bus just before Thanksgiving break, and she has not been seen since. Her name is Madaline Cojocari. Last seen on November 21st. She wasn't reported missing, however, for 3 weeks. Her mom and her stepdad both say that they don't know what happened to Madalina or where she is today. But police say this couple clearly knows more than they're revealing. Police now, 6 months later, are releasing this new video. This is of Madalina in an effort to keep her disappearance fresh in people's minds in Cornelius, North Carolina, and across the country. We're going to give you a look at her case right now, and in a moment, I'll be talking to a reporter from our Charlotte station who's been on the case about the latest developments, and we'll also be taking your questions this morning. First, here is Madalina's story.
Video shows Madaline Cojocari doing what she loved most: outdoors, swimming, and interacting with animals. The caption reads, "Madalina should be getting ready to enjoy the warm summer months at the beach and swimming."
Madaline is an energetic, vibrant 12-year-old child who loves the outdoors, animals, and specifically horses.
The last confirmed sighting of the 6th grader was November 21st, getting off her school bus near her home in Cornelius, North Carolina. But she wasn't reported missing until 3 weeks later, December 15th, after repeated attempts by her school to reach the family. Her mother, 37-year-old Diana Cojocari, and stepfather, 60-year-old Christopher Palmeter, both remain in jail, charged with failure to report the disappearance of a child.
Finding Madaline is our top priority. It has been since she was reported missing, and we'll continue to search for her until we find her.
Madalina's 12th birthday in April, a somber occasion.
Dear Jesus, while our hands and arms can't touch Madalina today, we pray and trust that your protective arms are fully embraced around her.
At the first media briefing, police keeping a tight lid on details in the case.
That's all part of our investigation, and I can't comment on any of those specifics at this time.
Most of what we know now comes from court documents. The most recent during a search in February, a narcotics dog alerted on the driver's side door of Diana Cojocari's 2008 Prius, but no drugs were seized inside. Phone records revealed Diana had extensive communication on December 2nd with a distant relative in her home country of Moldova. She reportedly asked him for help smuggling Madalina and herself away due to a bad relationship with Palmeter. Police say that relative has ties to drug trafficking investigations. Our local station in Charlotte called the relative, who claimed not to speak English.
Is there any indication that she may have been transported outside the U.S.? At this point, we're not ruling anything out.
Neighbors in this affluent lakeside community shocked.
I haven't seen Mom quite as much, but I have seen the stepfather out with the daughter just doing normal walks and bikes and stuff like that. So it seemed very casual, you know? So to say it's a surprise is an understatement.
Other documents show police were called to Cojocari's house on November 30th, a week after Madalina was last seen, for a report of the family burning furniture in the yard. From the beginning, police have searched the home. What was seized has not been revealed, other than that they were looking for any evidence of a kidnapping or violent crime. Police say Diana told them she last saw Madalina Wednesday night, November 23rd. Diana and Christopher had an argument. Christopher drove to his family's home in Michigan. When Diana went to check on Madalina Thanksgiving morning, she was gone. She said a backpack and some clothes were also missing. When Palmeter got home a few days later, court records indicate they asked each other about Madalina's whereabouts. But Diana said she didn't report the girl missing because she was concerned it would cause conflict with her husband.
This is a serious case of a child whose parents clearly are not telling us everything they know.
Police say Diana Cojocari said she believed that her husband put her family in danger. Police checking the home noted an area by the kitchen blocked off with plywood. Palmeter said they had planned to make a separate apartment. Police have also learned Diana visited a mountain area in western North Carolina during the 3 weeks before she reported Madalina missing, and they want to hear from any witnesses who saw her in her Prius.
It just seems so normal. It's just, nothing stands out, you know? So It's kind of the even more confusing part.
Absolutely. We're hopeful that we're going to find her and we're going to be able to answer all of your questions at a future time.
Again, it has now been 6 months since Madalina was seen. I want to bring in Sydney Heiberger. She's a reporter with our Next Star station in Charlotte, North Carolina. Sydney has been covering this case since the beginning. Thanks for being here with us this morning. You know, we get people watching every one of our cases week to week. I'm already getting lots of questions about Madalina's case. There's a lot of interest, not just in your community, but all across the country. Have you experienced that with this case, that people are concerned, and having it being revisited right now is really playing into the public's curiosity and concern for this little girl?
The community has not lost interest in this case for the more than 6 months that Madalina has been missing. They have been finding any occasion to bring her name back up. Her birthday, her 12th birthday, was in April. They left gifts and cards on her front porch. They've had prayer vigils, multiple of them. I mean, they want her to be found, and until then, they want to keep this case top of mind. So this is a story that really has never died down in the hearts and minds of the Cornelius community and really the region.
Yeah, and Sydney, as we look at pictures of Madalina and some of this new video, your heart just breaks. She's 11 years old. Now she would be 12. She was a 6th grader. We saw that video of her getting off the school bus. We want to find her, and that's why there's so much interest. Talk about the status of the parents, both behind bars, but not charged in her disappearance, but charged with failing to report it. Can you add some clarity to why and how they're being held?
Sure, they're being held, like you mentioned, failure to report a missing child. And from what we can tell, that is because police really don't have enough evidence right now to charge them with anything else. And if they do, they have been incredibly tight-lipped about what they do have. And I can tell you that is another source of frustration, you know, for the community and for anyone who's following this story. Of course, you know, everyone is innocent until proven guilty, but there are certainly a lot of specific suspicious circumstances surrounding this case. I can tell you Diana was given a $250,000 bond and an additional $5,000 bond for another charge that she picked up while she was in jail. It was a possession charge. She was found with a mixture of cocaine and fentanyl on her person while in prison. Christopher, the stepfather, was given a $200,000 bond, and they are both still in the Mecklenburg County Detention Center.
Are they denying any involvement? Are they cooperating with investigators? What have you seen in the court appearances? What are you hearing from investigators?
Originally, investigators were adamant that neither Diana nor Christopher was cooperating with their investigation. In fact, in a court appearance, I can tell you a prosecutor said that Diana only begrudgingly reported her daughter missing. Since then, they have police has decided that they didn't want to comment any further on their level of cooperation, but you would have to suspect that if they were cooperating, we would know more about what happened to Madalina or where she is. So at this point, it does not seem like they are cooperating with law enforcement.
All right, I want to get to a few of our viewer questions, Sydney. This is from Maria de Villers. She's in Texas watching the story and has been following it. And she is asking, was there any domestic, sexual, physical, or psychological abuse at the home before Madalina's disappearance? Any documents reveal that kind of activity in the past?
No, not that we can tell. We haven't heard of any reports of any authorities being called in terms of any abuse or anything like that. Of course, you never know what happens behind closed doors. We know that Madalina's classmates have told us that she was a very quiet girl. She kept to herself, didn't have a ton of friends. The neighbors tell us the family kept very private, didn't have a lot of friends in the neighborhood. So, but as far as we can tell, there were no reports of abuse previously.
No, in fact, neighbors saw the stepfather riding bikes with Madalina, but there was some peculiar activity in the backyard that neighbors witnessed. Tell us about that.
Yeah, neighbors told us that on several occasions they had seen the family burning things in the backyard. In fact, law enforcement did confirm with us that on November 30th, they were called to the home in terms of Diana, the mother, burning furniture in the backyard. And just for some context, November 30th is after Madalina was last seen, but before Diana reported her missing. So again, not evidence of a crime per se, but very suspicious behavior.
I've got another question. This is from Patricia in Massachusetts, and she's asking if the home was searched. I know that it was, so tell us about that search and what it revealed.
We know the home was searched at least twice, once in December, once again in February. Unfortunately, sort of in line with the way the law enforcement has been keeping a tight lid on this investigation, they have requested that those documents be sealed. So we don't know what they took out of the home. We do know that they took things out of the home because I was there while the first search warrant was being executed. You're seeing some of the video there on your screen. And we know that they did take some bags of things out of the house. We saw them taking photos and doing flashlights. We can assume maybe some luminol tests, but that search, we don't know what came out of it. Now, in February, they did another search of everything okay, Marnie?
Yep, go ahead.
Sure. In February, they did another search of the home and the car, and we don't know what they found in the home. We do know in Diana's car, they found some work and school documents. They found foreign passports to Moldova and Romania in Diana and Madalina's name. They also found a debit card, a Moldovan debit card in Diana's name. And the reason they did that search in February was because a drug-sniffing canine alerted to Diana's driver's side door of her Prius. We don't know if they found any drugs or drug paraphernalia inside. The warrant didn't give any indication of that.
And there are some family members involved here. At least they've shown up in court appearances. Do you know who they're connected with, and have they been able to give investigators any information?
Yeah, actually, in going through Diana's phone records, they know that she was involved speaking with one of her distant relatives. And that distant relative informed police that Diana had asked him for help, quote, smuggling her and Madalina away from their home. She indicated that she wanted to get a divorce from Christopher, her husband. That relative told, in searching through the relative's phone records, police believe that he has connections to possibly drug trafficking investigations. His phone number had made several calls back and forth to other people who were involved in those drug trafficking investigations. And I can tell you, in that specific warrant, police did specifically say that they are investigating links between drug trafficking and human trafficking. And so they at one point were looking at a possible human trafficking explanation for Madalina's disappearance.
What's happening at the house now, Sydney, where they did those two searches? Does anyone live there now?
No, the house is empty. I personally go by it every now and then just to check things out. A neighbor has told me that about once a week, someone goes by the house to check on things. They think it's a relative of Christopher's, but the house is empty as far as we can tell, other than, the flowers and cards and gifts that people sometimes will leave on the front porch to honor Madalina and wish for her return.
Does Diana have any other kids? Are there any other children involved?
Not that we can tell. We believe that the only person at least living in that home was Christopher, Diana, and Madalina.
Okay, I have another question, and this really pings on something that I was stuck on as well, and it's that trip that Mom Diana took, and then Christopher took his own trip. This is in the time that Madalina was missing but not reported missing. This is from Michelle Britt in Orlando. She says, why haven't we heard more about the searches, excuse me, in the mountains, like where the photos were taken of Diana? We have some of those photos. She says there's a lot of places you can hide or get rid of a person. She's seemingly taking selfies, happy in the mountains. And what more do investigators say about that trip, the timing of it, and have they searched those areas?
Again, investigators, we've asked those questions, do not want to give any information about where they have searched. But like you said, we do know they specifically asked the community in Madison County, which is not far away from Asheville, North Carolina. It's a mountain town. That if they had seen Diana and her vehicle in that area between November 22nd and December 15th, that is the time frame that Madalina was missing. And again, we have seen photos of Diana taking selfies and smiling in that area. But again, we also know that Christopher, the stepfather, says that he took a trip, a 3-day road trip, Michigan, the night that Diana says that she last saw Madalina. So there's the search and the questioning has been incredibly wide, either, from here to Madison County, from here to all the way up to Michigan. And unfortunately, a lot of these questions we've had law enforcement won't give answers to. We've also asked them, have they even gone to Moldova? Because again, we were curious if Diana had asked for help smuggling her and Madalina away from the home. Is it possible that perhaps Madalina somehow got back to Moldova, which is where she was born and where Diana and her family are from? Again, investigators wouldn't answer those questions. So a lot of possible scenarios. Unfortunately, we just don't know.
Was Madalina on social media? I don't know, at 11 years old, it's pretty young, but it's not completely uncommon either. Have you seen any accounts connected to her?
We have not. And I do believe that Diana has told investigators she also did not have a cell phone.
Madalina did not.
Correct.
Okay. Another question here this is more about if a plea deal is being offered in exchange for information. This is from Ray Kelly of Suffolk County, New York. But I guess the follow-up to that I would have is, are attorneys for either Christopher or Diana talking? What are they saying publicly?
Nothing.
Nothing.
Really nothing. And I can tell you, Diana has a public defender. Christopher has retained his own private attorney. We have reached out to both of them. Neither have responded to any of our requests for comments. The only time we've heard from them has been in their court appearances.
Do either of them have a criminal past?
What we can tell, no, other than, minor traffic things occasionally, but nothing that would signify that anything nefarious could happen within the family unit.
I know Sydney police are extremely tight-lipped, as you've indicated this morning, but how did they get the video? I mean, did they give any indication as to how they got it and why they're releasing it now?
They haven't indicated how they continue to get these new videos and pictures. What they have told us is that they're periodically releasing these new videos and new pictures simply just to keep the case top of mind. They don't want people to lose hope. They don't want people to stop searching and giving tips about anything that they may have seen. We do know that at least at the beginning stages of this investigation, police were going door to door, requesting any neighborhood doorbell video. They had gone to businesses asking for videos. They said that hundreds of people had submitted videos to them. But, I think the purpose of releasing these new videos is really just to keep Madalina's name in the media and to keep the community thinking about her and searching.
And they're not saying that they're leaving all options open, so she could be in the community or she could be out of the country, right?
That's right. There are so many different scenarios, and every detail we get in this case just honestly opens a whole new door to a million more questions. No one has any idea about what could have happened to her. We're hoping, and we believe law enforcement certainly has a lot more information than they are letting on to the public, and they have said that they are trying to protect the integrity of their investigation. And obviously, we assume that new details will be, revealed in time. Perhaps additional charges could be forthcoming, but at this point, there are just so many different things that could have happened here.
A lot of activity.
Yeah,
pardon the interruption. A lot of activity from our online community this morning on this one, Sydney. I've got another question here just about Madalina's friends or those at the school that she was in close contact with. If it had been for the school, we may not even know she was missing. Did they say anything about what she had shared, or had she shared anything about concerns in her home life?
We had spoken to a few of Madalina's friends. We know Madalina was very quiet, kept to herself, didn't have a ton of friends, truthfully. From what we can tell, she was just sort of like a normal 11, 12-year-old girl. She loved horses. She loved the color pink. She loved the outdoors and to play outside. From what we can tell, she hadn't expressed at least her friends have not told me that she had expressed any major concerns in her home life other than your typical 11, 12-year-old being upset and annoyed with their parents. But, again, it's hard to know what goes on behind closed doors.
Yeah. Well, 6 months later, I'm glad that police at least are continuing to investigate, and they're including the local reporting community in their efforts to try to find answers to this mystery. If anyone sees Madalina or has any information about the case, Sydney, what is the first phone call people should make? What are authorities telling people to do?
Immediately to the Cornelius Police Department. the FBI and the North Carolina State Bureau of Investigation are also working on this case. But Cornelius Police Department is the front law enforcement agency that is really investigating this. So anyone with information, no matter how big or small, should be reaching out to them.
All right, Sydney Heiberger with our NewsNation station in Charlotte. Thank you for your time this morning. We will stay in touch, as we know you guys are on the case day in, day out. We appreciate your time this morning.
Sure, thank you.
And thank you to all of you online for joining in this conversation. As always, great questions. We'll be back again next week with another missing case, so make sure to join us for the live stream on social media. And again, as Sydney said, if you have any information that can help in the search of Madaline Cojocari from Cornelius, North Carolina, you can see her face there. Call the Cornelius Police Department and local authorities. Thank you, as always, for your time. We'll see you back here next Thursday for another missing case.